My name's Tim, and this is the rest of my story. I'm coming for you! I'm gonna save you from this bubbling lava!
Hi, Summary Plot Movie here. Today I will recap a movie called The Boss Baby 2 released in 2021. This film is a continuation of The Boss Baby 1, which tells about the return of the team and Ted, who will do a secret mission with a baby genius who comes from a company called Baby Corp. How is the continuation of the story? But before we continuing the summary plot of the film, we remind you that this content is a full film spoiler. Plug in the headset, symmetrically lie down, enjoy the video, and let's start the story. The film will open by showing Tim that became the main character in the first film, but now Tim is grown up and living happily with their little family. Tim has a wife named Carol and two daughters named Tina and Tabitha. In his family, Tim is in charge of looking after his children, while his wife worked to earn a living for their family. Tim also always provide entertainment for their children with the amazing imagination that he has. While Tim's younger brother named Ted has now grown up and has even become a big rich businessman, Ted also often gives gifts to his nephews. He even gave a pony as a gift to Tabitha. But their happiness began to fade when Tabitha entered one of the schools in the city. He started busy with his school work and ignored all the jokes and silly imaginary games that Tim used to do. Tabitha is an intelligent and mature-minded child. One night, Tim came to Tabitha's room to sing and tell a story as a lullaby, but Tabitha refused and said that she had heard the story before. He also said that all the stories made no sense to him. Tim was even more sad when Tabitha instead made Ted as her role model and wanted to be successful like her uncle. With a sad feeling, Tim then went to the warehouse above where there was his childhood stuff stored there. But suddenly, he was surprised by the statue of the alarm clock that used to always wake him back alive. He looks disfigured with incomplete arms.
I gave her to my daughter, Tabitha.
You have produced an heir, Timothy.
Tim shared their sadness about Tabitha. He felt that Tabitha was growing up very quickly and it was like she didn't need him anymore. Tim also afraid he would part with Tabitha, just like what happened between him and Ted when they were growing up. Tim heard a strange sound from Tina's bedroom. He then came to her, but when she opened the blanket there was no Tina there but only a teddy bear. Then suddenly, Tina's baby appeared in front of him wearing a suit, and even more strangely, her baby child can talk. Tina reveals that she is on a secret mission and that she is an agent of a company called Baby Corp like Ted. Hearing that, Tim then became happy and wanted to help Tina carry out her mission. Tina explains that her mission is to bring Uncle Ted back to Baby Corp and then ask Tim to invite Ted to come. Hearing that, Tim's cheerfulness just disappeared. Tim said that he was not on good terms with Ted and had not seen Ted in a long time. He has also contacted her, but Ted was always busy with his business.
Horsey fell off. Tabitha?
The next morning, Ted suddenly came to his house in his private helicopter. Ted rushed into the house and immediately asked how Tabitha was, but Tabitha is fine. Ted came because last night Tim called him and told to him that Tabitha fell off her pony. But Tim didn't do it and thought that it was Tabitha's doing to get Ted to come.
Swear I didn't leave that message.
Then he asked Ted to speak and explain to Ted that Tabitha is from Baby Corp. But Ted didn't believe it and even said Tim was crazy. But after seeing Tina can talk, Ted finally believed it. Tina put the pacifier in their mouth and took them both to the Baby Corp. When he got there, Ted started to remember his past. There is also a very large statue of Ted because he is considered a legend there. Then a man named Dr. Armstrong appeared on the television news. He was the founder of a famous school in the city. Coincidentally, Tim knew him because Tabitha went to school there. Tina explained, if what Dr. Armstrong did was very dangerous because he had influenced all the children at the school to fight and stay away from their parents. At the same time, Tim realized the reason why Tabitha started avoiding him. Tina releases a formula that can turn adults back into babies. He gave the formula to Ted so that Ted could turn back into a baby and infiltrate the school and check out what Dr. Armstrong did. Then Ted tried the formula on his hands and his hands suddenly got smaller. Seeing that, Tim became jealous. He then snatched the potion from Ted and then drank it. Fighting between each other ensued until they both turned into complete children.
What kind of thing is that? Gotcha! Hey!
Then suddenly Tabitha and her mother came home. They both immediately went into hiding. Tina then distracts her mother and Tim pretends to run away with the excuse of going camping with Ted, even though only hiding in Tina's room.
Did they really just leave? Yup.
They planned to go to school tomorrow at 8 in the morning. Tina explained that their job was to place 2 surveillance cameras and a microphone in Dr. Armstrong's study. But in the morning, Tim wakes up late and he was very panicked because it was too late. Tim then immediately woke Ted and they immediately ran after the school bus, but unfortunately they did not manage to ride it. Ted suddenly remembered the pony that was he given to Tabitha. Then with a whistle, Ted then called him and they rushed to school, but on the way, they even make a lot of chaos. Tim and Ted were even chased by the police, but with great difficulty they managed to escape and arrived on time. When they arrive at school, Ted lures 2 boys into following him into the bush with money, then steals his clothes. Those clothes were used to disguise themselves as schoolboys over there. Tim deliberately tricked Ted into joining the baby class so he could be the new kid and in the same class as his daughter Tabitha.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
My name's Tim.
Ted is annoyed and tries to escape by inviting all the babies there to work together, but unfortunately he did not succeed and he was instead bullied by the babies there. The smart Tabitha always can answer questions from her teacher, and Tim is very proud of him. Ted had a brilliant idea after he seeing a baby boy able to stick to a wall using glue. Then he imitated it by putting glue on his hand, feet, and body. Then he immediately climbed the wall to get out of that place. Tim suddenly remembered his mission. He then changed his appearance into a bad boy and badmouthed the lessons at school. He was so sure if he did he would be summoned to Dr. Armstrong's office and punished there. But unfortunately, Dr. Armstrong even put him in a prison box and was punished in there. Ted now had arrived at Dr. Armstrong's room, but surprisingly, Dr. Armstrong was already waiting for him. Dr. Armstrong had also seen what Ted was doing with the other babies. Ted is considered a rare smart baby by Dr. Armstrong, so he gets good treatment there. Dr. Armstrong even invited him to cooperate, and invited Ted to join an important meeting with the babies that will be held soon, until finally, Dr. Armstrong showed himself that he was just a baby like him.
You're looking at him. Bingo.
We have a secret level.
When the sentence is over, Tim finally can get out of the prison box. He then immediately looked for Ted, but Ted was a little disappointed with Tim that was always late in doing everything. When going home, Tim accidentally saw Tabitha being bullied by other children during singing practice. He was humiliated by his classmates for not being able to sing and he left his practice in shame. Tim also heard about the evil plan of his classmate who wanted to humiliate and thwart Tabitha during the singing performance later. Then Tim pretended to be familiar with Tabitha. He came to Tabitha and tried to ask to stop by Tabitha's house. Tina tries to stop Tim and reminds her of her mission at school, but in the end, Tim is allowed to join and manages to stop by Tabitha's house. On the other hand, Ted accidentally fell and entered a secret room in the school. He saw so many babies working there.
Something tells me this isn't daycare.
Then Ted took out his phone and took a photo of everything in the place, but suddenly the ninja troops came to attack him. Lucky, Dr. Armstrong suddenly appeared and saved him. He was then immediately taken to the meeting room for babies. Dr. Armstrong said he had made several popular and best-selling apps with babies. He then showed Ted the latest app he was working on. Dr. Armstrong plans to eliminate all parent by using the app. Then Dr. Armstrong motivates babies to be smarter than their own parents in order to live without them. Ted is very shocked to hear about Dr. Armstrong's evil plan. He also wanted to get out of there and immediately tell to Tim and Tina, but in front of Dr. Armstrong he pretended to support him.
No more parents.
Tim, who had arrived at their own house, had begun to get along with Tabitha. Tina again warns Tim to return to their mission, but Tim refused and said that he already had a new, more important mission.
Gotta go. Lightspeed out.
Suddenly, Tim's parents came to the house, which made him very panicked. He was also invited to eat with Tim's extended family, but Tim's parents did not realize that he was a small Tim because he wore glasses. At the same time, Ted had gone home too, but while sneaking in, he heard from his parents saying that he really admired his brother when he's still child and they are also very close like best friends. Hearing that, made them both feel sad and guilty.
Take a monster. This is sweet.
Tabitha took Tim to her bedroom and showed all her belongings. Tim then took the guitar, then invited Tabitha to sing together. But while singing, Tabitha emitted an ugly voice in a very messy tone. She then stopped singing because she felt very ashamed and annoyed with herself. Tim then suggested Tabitha to sing in a relaxed manner and use her own imagination when singing. After that, Tabitha then tried again and managed to sing well and also more confident.
You know that there are.
Wow.
And after that, Tim then pretended to say goodbye to go home. Tim then went to Ted in the warehouse upstairs to apologize for what he had done at school, but Ted turns out to have forgiven him. Even Ted has fixed Tim's broken alarm. He also said that Dr. Armstrong would launch the application when the school's singing performance started. Ted begins to tell Dr. Armstrong plans to create a dangerous app with his baby troops. Hearing that, they then made a plan to thwart Dr. Armstrong's plans.
Yay! Forced together again!
It's 8:45 p.m.
The next day when the stage arrived, the parents there began to be hypnotized because they used the application from Dr. Armstrong to take photos. Seeing that, Ted and Tina immediately tried to stop the stage by pulling the electric lever behind the stage, but Tim stopped him because soon it was Tabitha's turn to start singing on stage. After debating for a while, Ted finally managed to pull the lever, but it turned out to be all just a trap. Dr. Armstrong and his ninja squad then tied them up and put them in a punishment box filled with water and would drown them.
You once felt. Sorry about that.
No.
Adios,
No.
Marcos.
Now it's Tabitha's turn to sing on stage, but she's still feeling a little hesitant. But slowly she began to be able to sing well and made all the audience there very impressed with his appearance. They even took out their cell phones to take a picture of Tabitha, which even made them all hypnotized. When Tabitha finished singing, she was feel sad because no one gave applause. She felt her singing was still bad and ran out of the building for cried there.
Oh my gosh, Tabitha, you did such a great job.
Dr. Armstrong was now in control of all parents and had dared to come out of his disguise.
Who wants cake?
Tina immediately approached Tabitha and introduced who she really was. Tabitha was immediately surprised to see her baby sister could talk like an adult. Tina also asked Tabitha to help her thwart the evil plans of Dr. Armstrong, who will soon launch the application to all countries. Hearing that, Tabitha realized that what her father often told was not just a fairy tale. Ted suddenly remembered his pony and he then whistled to call him. The ponies then came quickly and broke into the place to save them, and in the end they both made it out of there. In his escape, Ted and Tim are also chased by the ninjas, but Ted's baby troops help them.
Like your pajamas.
They plan to shut down the server so all parents can return to normal, but the server is on a very tall tree right in the middle of the school. Tabitha and Tina tried to climb the tree, while Tim and Ted tried hard to buy time, but their efforts were in vain.
It's Night of the Living Boomers.
Dad,
Got your nose! And enter!
No, stop it. Cut it out. It's getting stuck with.
Not wanting to give up so easily, Tina then asked Tim and Ted to pull the fire alarm lever to damage the server. Unfortunately, the fire alarm was broken.
That's it?
That's right. Why? What? The school's.
Coincidentally, they saw that there was Coca-Cola water and lots of Mentos falling. They then got an idea to blow up the server by throwing Coca-Cola and Mentos. They finally managed to destroy the central server and beat Dr. Armstrong. Tina took Dr. Armstrong out of his custom robot and reminded him that the relationship between children and parents is very important. Tim caught Tabitha, who was about to fall just as Tim changed to her original body.
I got you, Tabitha.
Tabitha happily kissed her father's cheek, which indicated that their relationship had returned to being close. All of the parents there came back to their senses, but they didn't know what had just happened. On Christmas holiday, Tim family spend holiday together. Tabitha also sings in front of her family to cheer up. Now she looks very good at singing. Carol accidentally picks up a phone call from BabyCorp and she just realized that Tina could talk and was from BabyCorp. On the other hand, Dr. Armstrong returned to his home and his parents welcomed him happily. And the Boss Baby 2 movie is over. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoy it. Please give me thumbs up and click subscribe button. See you on another video.